In this video, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about DC offset and asymmetric or lopsided waveforms, because one of these is not like the other. Hey friends, Mike Adams here with Learn Audacity. I noticed something was off a little bit with my waveforms recently. I have a screen open here with Audacity, and I have one of those waveforms in it, so let's take a look. This waveform looks lopsided or asymmetrical in shape. If we take a closer look at it, we can see that the negative side, or the lower side of the waveform, reaches further away from the 0 point than the positive or upper side of the waveform. It's asymmetrical. It's not what I'm used to seeing. What I'm used to seeing is a nice symmetrical waveform centered around the 0 point in Audacity. This one just looks a little bit weird. And if this were to get extreme, this could cause some problems later on in post-production, especially when I'm amplifying. That negative side of the waveform might start clipping, while the positive side or the upper side still runs clean. I don't want that. Some people confuse this condition with DC offset, but this is not DC offset. Let me show you what DC offset is before I tell you the remedy that I found to fix this waveform. This image that I'm bringing up right here is actually a picture of DC offset. You can see that in the lower half of the image, the waveform is centered nicely around the 0 point. This is good, but the top part of the image shows DC offset. DC offset is different than a lopsided or asymmetrical waveform because DC offset actually moves the 0 point. DC offset happens when some kind of DC or direct current voltage gets superimposed onto our waveform, and that causes the 0 point to go up or down depending on whether or not that DC voltage is positive or negative. And the entire waveform moves with that DC voltage. In this example, it's on the positive side or the upper side of the 0 point in Audacity. That's DC offset. You can tell if you're experiencing DC offset by simply zooming in to your waveform to see where the 0 point is landing. If the quiet point of your waveform is landing on the 0 point in Audacity, you're not experiencing DC offset. If your waveform is asymmetrical, you just got an asymmetrical waveform. And that can be caused by a lot of things, mostly hardware. Hardware is a good contributor to this problem. You can usually fix this in post. One method would be to use a high-pass filter on it, because that might get rid of some of that asymmetrical form. But let me show you the culprit that was causing my asymmetrical or lopsided waveform. My DBX286S microphone preamp and processor was the culprit causing my lopsided waveforms. And the solution was a simple one. I simply disabled the high-pass filter in my DBX286S, and that solved the problem. But I think the DBX286S wasn't the only culprit in this. I think this microphone that I'm using had something to do with it, because prior to this happening, I'd been using a different microphone. I'd been using a shotgun microphone to do my videos and to record my courses on. Well, I switched to this microphone because I hadn't used it in quite a while. By the way, this is an Audio-Technica AT2040. It's an XLR microphone that I'm running through my Zoom H6 recorder as an audio interface. I think there's a compatibility issue between this microphone and the DBX286S, and I think that issue showed up in the form of an asymmetrical or lopsided waveform. Now, I like this mic. I'm going to be using it for a while, so disabling that high-pass filter wasn't a big deal because I can put it back in post-production. This microphone does tend to accentuate the lower end, especially for me in this room and with my voice. So I usually end up putting a little more presence on the treble end or the high frequency end in my post-production anyway. So I just wanted to mention this to you, that an asymmetrical waveform or a lopsided waveform isn't necessarily DC offset. I think sometimes we're quick to jump to the conclusion that it is, but simply zooming into your waveform and taking a closer look at it will reveal whether or not you're experiencing DC offset. And DC offset isn't nearly as common as it once was, but it can still be a problem that's usually related to hardware, as it was in my case. So I'll let you go, and until next time, y'all take care.